is a Bramble Jam podcast.
Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
Today we're discussing The Way Home, Season 3, Episode 4, titled I'll Have to Say I Love You in a Song. Hey, you should be following us on Instagram. We are Girls Gone Hallmark. You can keep up with when we drop new episodes, behind the scenes. Come check it out.
Our broadcast channel.
It's a good time.
It is a good time. We also have a Facebook group if you aren't part of it yet. Girls Gone Hallmark in Facebook groups. We are also on Blue Sky at Girls Gone Hallmark. And finally, if you haven't visited our website, I recommend you do if you're looking for additional The Way Home information, because we are writing a bunch of posts over there for it.
That's right. I want to follow up. I don't remember if it was our mailbag episode or our The Way Home episode from last week, but we mentioned that we got like a flurry of Tomcat and Chris Holden Reed comments. And then we got one via DM, and I was like, hey, we've been getting a barrage of these. Any idea where they're coming from? And they said probably from the Tomcat Facebook group, which I tried to join and they denied me. So
That's so weird.
that's where it's coming from. They direct me toward, they have a Tomcat public Facebook page, which quite frankly, I was not there for like the Tomcat lore. I just wanted to see like, are they driving traffic to all these Hallmark Instagram accounts?
Yeah,
Anyway,
interesting.
so perhaps that's where it's coming from. But there apparently is a large group of very dedicated Chris Holden Reed fans. And so are we, to be clear. I hear your cries to have him on the podcast. Until he's actually in this season, I'm not sure it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, we got a blast from the past in this episode, so never say never.
Never say never. God, I would love to have him on the podcast.
I think it's a good idea when you're watching these episodes to pay attention to what you see in the previously on, because it's going to give you a good idea of the plot points we're going to be revisiting.
100%.
In this case, we do see a return of Casey in our previously on, as well as Dell's letters. Mm-hmm. Both of which I was like, all right, we're back. Obviously, it covers things that happened in the actual, most recently previous episodes, but they want to remind you about things that you may have forgotten.
Hey, speaking of things I may have forgotten, I just wanted to drop this tidbit. I have started a rewatch of season 1.
That is on my list of goals. As you know, I'm not feeling fabulous. And I was like, can I just spend the day in bed watching The Way Home?
I think you should. I think you're going, like, I think if you haven't watched it since the first run, you're going to go, that's interesting. Yeah, that's how I've been.
I've never watched this show without actively taking notes on every episode that I am watching. So I think it would be interesting to just watch it.
Yeah, you should. I think
Perhaps
your
I
plans have been written for today.
That's right. Mm-hmm. All right. So there is, as per usual, a lot going on in this episode. What would you like to start with?
Well, let's start with Alice returning to 1974.
Okie dokie.
First of all, I think it's super laughable that they're just like, should we go back? Yeah, let's go back. Like
They're going to get a coffee.
Yeah. Like
Yes,
there's
they've become
no
very casual about it.
there's no danger surrounding it. Where you're playing real fast and loose with the magic of the pond, you're going to get stuck in 18 whatever. You know what I mean?
Well,
So
it's a big contrast to me, because the first season we see Alice going back because she was really enjoying her friendship with Kat, and then she realizes like she meets Jacob and maybe she'll be able to unravel this. But I think in large part she was going back for Kat. Like she has this friend. In the second season, Kat's going back because of Jacob. Mm-hmm. But now it's like they're just trying to figure out what the pond has for them. They're like, well, I know that I did things in the past that I haven't seen come to fruition yet, so let's just keep jumping.
that seems really dangerous. Really dangerous.
As mentioned, it seems like they maybe have left the danger of the pond. That's not a plot point where we're terribly worried about.
I guess so. It's like, that saying where people say like Costco, show me the way, like when you just show up at Costco and like Costco's going to show you. So they're just like the pond, show us the way. Like it's wild to me.
Target tells me what I need.
Exactly. So Kat and Alice kind of start the day off like they're going to hang out together with each other. But then they're like, you know what? I kind of want to go to 74, but no, I kind of want to go to 74. And so then they go to the pond, they jump in together. They end up in 74, but they split ways. Alice is going to go look for Colton, right?
Yeah, Colton and Evelyn
And Evelyn. And Kat is going to look for Fern because I think she's trying to get some more answers about like the 1965 of it all.
Yeah. Alice does find Evelyn, and she's on like the banks of the pond. We're citing the Lady of Shalott. I don't pretend to know what that is, but it just kind of like lends to her like ethereal.
It does. What I was thinking, I don't know what the Lady of Shalott is either, but she describes it as a maiden trapped in a tower who's in love with the night and she can only watch from afar. And I was like, okay, is she talking about her future in Lingamore? Because wasn't she kind of like a recluse up there towards the end? And she was like watching from the room with the binoculars and all that jazz.
Yeah. Yes, excellent point. The obvious standout moment in the scene, though, is she notices Alice is wet, asks her directly about it, and says, I know what you know. The pond is a very special place. And then invites Alice back to Lingamore.
Yeah, this scene, it did make me pause for a second. I was like, it's not that obvious. There's no, I mean, maybe Evelyn. I don't like when things are talked about in like riddles. You know what I mean? Like come out and say like, are you time traveling via the pond? Because I know about the pond too, rather than like being like, oh, I know what you know. I don't like that. So like, is it that obvious or is it not?
Yeah, well, I think they're being intentionally obtuse here, right? Like they're not telling us because we do not know. We know that the pond means something to Evelyn and Colton. We don't know specifically what it means at this point. So I think, they're not telling us intentionally, but it's frustrating as a viewer to be like, but what do you actually know?
Yeah, like give it to me straight here. Let's continue talking about Evelyn and Alice, and then we'll circle back to Kat and Jasper. Is that cool?
Yeah, I just want to say about these Lingamore shots, I think it's really cool. We'll talk about Jacob separately, but they do some really cool transitions because in present day, Jacob and Dell are visiting Lingamore. And there's some cool like back-to-back scenes that mirror each other and some cool like transitions like as Evelyn and Alice go upstairs, Jacob walks in the room. I just wanted to call that out. I think there's some cool editing happening here.
I think so too. So Evelyn wants to take Alice to Lingamore. She's like, I can't believe you haven't been up here yet. Let's go. So like they roll up, right? And I just thought it was so funny because they're like in this car and then just, being teenagers, I guess. But what's funny is that Evelyn drops like, this place is full of ghosts. And this episode is straight up ghost filled.
Ghosty.
Yeah.
Yes.
In a very good and exciting way, I think. Like it makes it for an exciting episode.
The Way Home Scary Movie Edition.
Yeah, because I'm like, what the F is real and what is not? It's it's really mind bending, I think, because we've been saying this for 2.5 seasons now. Like when Ghost Colton shows up, right? In a
Ghost
memory.
Colton figures pretty heavily in this episode as well.
Exactly. So it's like, it just really plays a lot of tricks with my mind here. So Alice and Evelyn, they're like walking through Lingamore and there's like murals on the wall. And Alice talks about like, they're looking at this one and there's what it looks to be is a white witch hovering over some like children playing. And Evelyn's like, but look, the kids aren't even scared. She's protecting them, and it just goes back to the white witch lore, which I think is Kat from the 1800s.
Yes.
I mean, did they ever really like close that loop there?
They didn't close the loop, but you could imagine Cyrus continuing to scream about the White Witch throughout
Yeah.
since they never find her, as far as we know.
Right.
There's a juxtaposition of we see Jacob looking at the Cyrus Goodwin, and then it switches. So Evelyn and Alice are looking at the Cyrus Goodwin painting, and Alice's attention is drawn to the window, and outside of that window is the fountain where her mom fell in, and drama ensued, and we see Dell laying out there, and Evelyn is not Dell's biggest fan, especially when Colton shows up and is drawn straight to Dell.
Isn't it so weird? Like this young Delilah is just like doing her own thing there at Lingermore. Like you would think like the two teenagers would be like kind of forced to hang out with each other, and they don't.
They absolutely do not.
And then what else is Dell's purpose to be there as this teenager?
Yeah, why does her family send her there?
Yeah,
I mean, we know their families are friends, but she's there by herself. So,
oh, girl, I think I just figured out why she got sent there.
oh, yes. Let's get to it in a minute. Yeah, but it's so early. Really? Like just for the summer? Okay.
I don't know. Okay.
So Dell and Colton banter. Have you heard of these guys? ABBA made me laugh. And while like Colton is trying to get Dell to agree to like letting him show her around Port Haven, Evelyn's heart is breaking watching through the window. And it's interesting because in this scene and in several others throughout this episode, Alice and Evelyn have very different experiences watching the Colton and Dell love story. Like Alice loves it because that's her grandmother and her grandfather who she loves. And it's exciting to see that. But of course, she then has to switch course and support Evelyn through it.
I mean, I gotta tell you, my heart breaks watching Evelyn here. In these scenes. Oh, that teenage love, and you're just watching it unfold through someone else. Oh man, I think Evelyn, the character of Evelyn, is like one of the most interesting characters on the show.
Me too, and very mysterious too. We don't know a lot about her yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
especially her future and how like she goes from this Evelyn to the recluse.
Yeah, totally.
Evelyn wants to spy on them on their date. I like their spy outfits. They're like cool giant sunglasses and Evelyn's scarf. And I mean, they're not hiding anywhere, but they look cute.
And they hide as much as Kat does, you know?
Exactly. We should just weave in like the Colton and Dell date here, I think.
Yeah.
Because he wants to take Dell on his boat. I'm like, how did Colton have this cute little boat? Dell's super hesitant, ostensibly because like she gets seasick. But as this is happening, Evelyn is like regretting not telling Colton how she feels and says she feels like Dell is taking her place.
Yeah, she's like, it's too late now. Like, I can't tell him because like he's pursuing somebody else.
Exactly.
And Alice is like, it's going to turn out like it's supposed to. Like, what do you say? You know?
And poor Evelyn says like, thinks that means that Dell and Colton won't last.
Yeah,
Obviously,
exactly.
That's not what Alice means. When Dell and Colton return from their boat trip, Dell's pissed because she barfed all over Colton's shoes because she's seasick. She's embarrassed, but it's coming out in anger.
Right.
That he didn't listen to her. And like Evelyn's so glad. She's like, yes, it didn't work out. But Colton, because of Landry, never gives up and he serenades Dell, which I'm going to tell you, this would not work for me.
Why?
You're embarrassing yourself. Put the guitar away.
Oh my God, he's such a good singer. No way.
I know. I would just be embarrassed. I do not like public displays of anything. That's just a me thing.
Oh my gosh, Megan.
You would have wanted to be serenaded dockside at 17?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some hot dude who can sing is singing to me. Hell yeah, I would.
And then they have a barf breath kiss.
Oh my gosh, this was so interesting to me because like he tries to go in for a kiss and she says like, "Oh no, my breath." And I was like, that is such a weird. It was just weird. I thought it was a weird line.
I understand her hesitation though.
Of course, but like how often do we watch movies where like people wake up in the morning and kiss and you know they got stinky breath? These are things that you just ignore.
Yes, but he says, I don't care, Deli. Like he already has a nickname for her.
Yeah,
Alice
he's pretty
runs it.
smitten by her pretty instantly.
Evelyn is heartbroken.
Yeah.
And Alice like looks around. She's like, wait, why am I here? And then she realizes like, oh, I'm not here for Colton. I'm here for Evelyn.
Yeah, this is a very good question because like, why is Alice here?
Mm-hmm.
Is
I'm
she
glad she
there for
asked
Evelyn?
it out loud.
Yeah, like what the hell? Like she's not trying to get. It wasn't her job to get Colton and Dell together, right?
No, but is her being there for Evelyn somehow keeping Evelyn away from Colton?
Occupied? Yeah, maybe. That's a good
and
point.
allowing the Colton and Dell love story to happen? Or is she just there to be a friend to Evelyn? Later on, Colton does thank Alice for being there for Evelyn, and he discovers she's headed to the pond. And again, more indirectness. He's like, Fern told me all about the pond being magic, and he was jumping in the pond to try and save Rick. And
Yes,
Alice,
we do get a better clarification of what Colton was doing in the pond that day that she saw him. He was trying to go back and save Rick.
Yes. She says, I don't blame you for wanting to believe. We don't have any evidence that Colton has ever actually time traveled, only that he was absolutely trying to.
Yeah, just strictly based on like these wild stories that his grandmother used to tell him. Yeah. So it's still unclear here at this point if Colton knows he can time travel or has time traveled.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back to keep talking the way home. While Alice is with Evelyn, Kat goes to find Fern and instead runs into Jasper. I just want to say that I love his van. It's excellent prop work. And I also saw the showrunner of the show. She posts like some behind the scenes shots and answers some fan questions.
Yes, her Instagram is great if you want like more information. Also, the actor who plays young Colton, Jordan Dow, posts a lot of behind the scenes stuff too.
Alexandra Clark is the showrunner. Her Instagram is Ali Marielli, but she has posted, as mentioned, like a ton of behind the scenes stuff. And ouch, one of the things someone asked is the 1974 coils and the present day point to different buildings. And she says they're the exact same building and they turn them over. Like,
that's amazing.
She's like, our set dressers can turn them over in the span of a day. And she focused in on some of the cool details in there, which I really love. So I recommend giving her a follow. Anyway, I just think it's cool that they gave Jasper's van the full treatment. Mm-hmm. I just like it. They went all the way. Jasper was dropping off some old magazines to Fern, and we learned that he was new to town in 1965. And Kat's like, oh, you probably know a lot about that time period. And he was like, better question is, what don't I know? And apparently he has all his files in his van.
Yeah, kind of weird, but okay.
Yeah, I'll go with it. And she was like, hey, I'm looking for information about this town meeting in 1965. And they find an audio recording that he also has the equipment to play in his van. And you can kind of hear Fern is arguing for keeping it, and some townspeople are shouting about how 2 kids almost drown. And I believe they make it pretty clear that those 2 kids are Evelyn and Colton.
Mm-hmm. Let me tell you what I didn't like about this scene. It was very difficult to hear what was playing on the recording.
Yes.
When I watched it, I didn't have subtitles, so it was especially hard. Like I didn't know exactly what was being said and who was saying it. So I did need Kat to kind of explain a little more of what she was hearing.
And that she does. And like she says, oh, I hear, Kat kind of does talk over what they're hearing.
What would you know your dad's voice as a child?
Absolutely not. There's no chance.
It's like, okay, this is a little bit of a reach for me here, but okay, I'll go with it.
Well, but Evelyn does say, you saw it too, Cole. I know you did. So that's the confirmation that we're hearing, or at least that Colton is there.
Saw what, though?
Well, we don't know that.
Okay.
But he doesn't want her to say it out loud. So something happened at the pond, and he does not want the townspeople to know.
You saw 1999 too, Colton. I don't know.
Right?
I don't know. They could be talking about anything. Who knows?
Who knows? That's kind of the end of Kat's time in 1974.
Yeah, that was it.
Let's talk about Jacob and his flashbacks. And this episode was a little bit scary. Like there's a jump scare at the end that made me literally jump. We open on Colton and Jacob camping. I do want to say we got a message because we've been talking about young Jacob and how he obviously appears to be the same age. And someone was like, I think it's two different actors. According to IMDb, it is not. It's the same young Jacob in all three seasons.
I'm telling you, I turned on season 1 and I was like, okay, it's the same kid. He does look younger in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he's hitting like that super like.
Yeah, they're running out of time.
They're running out of time. They are running out of time though. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to hit, your teeth are going to change and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Jacob says, like, are you sure we're safe out here, Dad? And Colton's like, nothing can hurt you out here, Jakey. And in the morning, Jacob wakes up and emerges from the tent and runs through a field. And it's all very, like, bright and sunny and lovely, and pushes through hanging laundry on the line and opens the door to their home. And we cut to a very creepy shot of adult Jacob finding Cyrus Goodwin in their house. And
This, of course, is a nightmare that Jacob wakes up
Yes.
from.
This is another cool shot we get in this scene where they like kind of pan overhead, because they pan from Jacob's room where he's kind of wakes up screaming to Dell overhearing that. Mm-hmm. It does actually also pan into a shot of Kat and Elliot having a very different morning.
Presumably later that morning, Dell gets another letter that says, I know about your family. Soon they all will. And Ghost Colton appears at the table and he tells her to tell Kat and Jacob, like tell them the truth. And she says she can't. And she's worried that she cannot protect them. What the hell are they talking about?
Yeah, too many damn questions, right?
So
What if I
many
can't protect
questions.
them from what?
Exactly. Here Jacob comes downstairs and he's like, yo, I'm going to Lingermore because I apparently wants to talk to Goodwin about the job offer. And Mama Dell wants to go with. I mean, I think this ties into the like she feels the need to still protect Jacob. So as
Yeah,
she goes
there's
with.
kind of like a tense moment right before this because Dell is the one who answers the phone and Lewis Goodwin says he wants to discuss an important matter. And Kat's like, are you ready for that? And he's like, I'm fine, Kat. Those aren't his words, but that is the sentiment. But he doesn't want to be coddled anymore.
Yeah, wouldn't you be frustrated as Jacob to be like
Sure.
questioned on my every move? Like, I'm an adult man. Maybe I'm new to 2025, but I did okay for myself. Well, did he though? Do okay for himself in the 1800s?
He's certainly had enough experiences to suggest that he can handle himself.
Yeah.
When Jacob and Dell arrive, this whole scene is a series of like Cyrus moments. And the first one is like Cyrus outside the house, juxtaposed with like Lewis walking in front of the Cyrus apparition, welcoming them to the house.
Yeah, it's done really well. Like you mentioned, this whole episode is done really well with these like kind of crossover scenes of like memories of Cyrus at Lingermore and Jacob's time there as a prisoner, I guess. But again, like to me, I'm like, are these memories? Are these ghosts? Like what's actually happening here?
Yeah, is it just that like Jacob's so afraid that Cyrus is going to somehow get him in his new home in the present day that he just is conjuring up these images? Like he's just convinced every time he turns a corner, Cyrus is going to be there to get him. I think it speaks really strongly to Jacob's state of mind that he just lives in this constant state of fear.
Totally.
They're there because Lewis wants Jacob to help with his vineyards. He says he knows like the work Jacob has been doing on the farm. Notably, Lewis pronounces the word produce as produce. But he also apologizes for the way he behaved at the book launch. And Dell isn't like quite ready to forgive him. So they argue in the background as Dell like locks eyes on the Cyrus Goodwin portrait and then sees yet another vision of Ghost Cyrus. And it's like almost like a flashback of him being arrested.
Yeah.
And he tells his mom like he can't do this. And
He's like, I can't do anything with that man in this family. And Goodwin actually seems like kind of confused of like what Jacob is talking about. Like, it's like somebody having like a moment, like as you're like just talking with them and you're like, whoa, that was a full 180. Like, what are you upset about? Right.
Yeah. And rightfully so, because obviously Louis Goodwin does not know about Jacob's past with his great granddaddy.
Or does he? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows?
A little bit later in the episode, Del sees Jacob's scars and asks him about them. And he tells her the truth about Cyrus, that he wasn't just in prison, that he was tortured, that Kat saved his life, and that he is struggling.
Yeah, I thought this was really good because he's like, look, I know it's only been 9 months, but like, he's like, I'm broken. Like, I don't know if I'm going to recover from this. It's crazy.
It is. And she says, you're not broken. You will heal, and I will be here to help you.
They have this moment. They're like sitting on the porch at the Landry house, right? Like they have this like whole moment sitting out there. And at the same time, she's holding this like box of letters that Jacob used to write to her. And this is kind of like a throwback to, I don't know if it was season 1 or season 2, the mama mail that he used to like leave for her. And so it is nice in this moment. She says like she wants to focus on what she has now, and with Jacob being back, like, you know, she's been struggling with this, like protecting him, right? Like but he is not a child anymore. So I'm like, okay, good. Now we're going to get Del to like this next place of not being in this like constant state of like worry over Jacob, like as what has happened. And now like hopefully moving forward, like being more present.
Yeah, she has. I mean, this whole episode is kind of about her confronting some of the fears she has about her children. She even says, like, the reason she was so hard on Kat about her moving in with Elliot was like she wasn't ready to let her go, even though she's like an adult. Like, she had her back and she wasn't ready to let her go. And so I think she's coming to terms with all of these things. And she says to Jacob, you're not broken. The scars are proof that you suffered, but they're also proof that you made it through. In other news, Del, as we mentioned, she did receive a new note at the beginning in this episode, and we see, you know, Ghost Colton return. When Alice returns home from 1974, why don't we jump to that?
Yeah.
Alice tells her that she just witnessed their first date, and Del's like, I don't remember Evelyn being there or Alice being there either. And Alice says, I got to witness you falling in love. This moment is interrupted. Kat comes home and she and Alice like go to get ready for her date with Noah together. And Ghost Colton is back. And he says, you know, the moment Alice saw is not the moment we fell in love. And we see yet another moment from that 1974 day of them being in Colton's truck and her apparently having to like motion sickness, again, is what we're led to believe. And him helping her out, like on the side of the road. And he says, that's a moment just for us. But my notes are like, yo, is Del pregnant?
Yeah, I was like, it didn't dawn on me
The first time.
No, because I was like, okay, yeah, she could definitely get sick on a boat, right? Oh, I sure do. But then again, now they gotta like emergency pull over so she can get out of the car and get some fresh air. And then like he's helping her with like some pressure point stuff, like to help her nausea go away. But then she ends up losing her cookies again. And I was like, oh, wait a damn minute. Wait a damn minute. Del is pregnant, right?
Yeah, so is that baby in the basket Del's baby?
Well, wait. Okay. That's what I think. And it wasn't until this morning while we were recording early on, I was like, is that why she's at Lingamore? Her parents sent her away to Lingamore because she was pregnant?
Yeah, that's what I assumed you were saying when I didn't get that until you said it either. But then it's like so early in the pregnancy. Like she's out there in a bikini. It's obviously like first trimester. Would they send her away that early? Are they just going to leave her there for the entire 9 months?
Maybe. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But here's, okay. So if Del is pregnant, who is she pregnant with? Mm-hmm. Are we now led to believe that is maybe Jacob in this baby basket, right? Mm-hmm. And the connections to what she says last episode, like if I didn't have to give you up, is that what she said?
Yeah, what if I had been able to keep you? But this is where it doesn't make sense to me because all along Del is insistent that she doesn't know about the pond. She doesn't know about the pond. She doesn't know about the pond. So if this is her baby that they put in the pond and then comes to her in the present day in whatever, 2000, I
In the
guess.
no, before that, because
Oh, yeah. And then
he went missing
early
in
90s.
99. Yeah.
If he comes to her then, how do they explain that to her, right? So that's where it doesn't make sense to me. Like, I want to believe that that baby is Jacob, but if Del didn't know about time travel, then how could that be?
Good questions. Good questions. And then who is the father of that baby? Because it's not Colton.
Exactly. Okay, so we have two minor storylines that both have big revelations.
Yes.
So we have the Kat and Elliot of it all. And Kat, to me, it seems like she's very hesitant throughout this entire episode in her relationship with Elliot. And she talks to her mom later on about it, she's like, I'm just worried about it getting boring. And Del's like, that's when the magic happens, like in those moments. Like it's not like the big exciting
It's
thing.
the everyday stuff that you find that you love each other. I'm boring. Sorry.
Well,
It's certainly not exciting compared to like Thomas, right?
sure, like the excitement and the intrigue of like getting shot and
Yeah.
of course. I still like Elliot, so I'm still in favor of their relationship. But, the opening of the scene is like, hey, maybe you could like unpack your stuff. And then they have a moment where she like spills water on his 120-year-old floors. And she's just like, ugh, like that's life, Kat. Like at some point you do need to deal with life. It's not all going to be like sweeping moments of romance and intrigue. But cut towards the end of the episode, they're making dinner and Elliot's dropping avian flu factoids and Kat's like, oh my God, is this my life? And then closing time comes on. And apparently it's a blast from the past.
Yeah, it's like their magic switch. She's like all hot and bothered for him now because this 90s jam came on.
They make out on the counter and Kat says, I guess real life isn't so bad after all. The moment is interrupted, however.
She sees her dad's sweater in the background, like just laying on a table or a chair or whatever. And she's like, wait, where did this come from?
He found it on the banks of the pond, but she was like, that doesn't make any sense. And then she like runs home and is grilling Del about it. And Del's like, I don't know what you're like. I have no memory of it.
She's pissed, basically. Del is pissed. And then she goes into her bedroom and she talks to Ghost Colton. And she's basically asking Ghost Colton if Kat's right. Like, why didn't you tell? Yeah. She's saying, like, why didn't you tell me? So here we have some admission. Like,
why didn't you protect our son?
And why didn't you protect our Jacob? Yeah, basically. Yeah. So to me, that leads me to believe that she did not know about the pond.
Yeah, all of the clues that Del is presenting make me believe that she did not know about it or that she had amnesia. But there is so much to suggest that she genuinely did not know about the pond.
Right. And in this moment, a letter appears under the door from Jacob, and it says, it's time to let go of what was lost and take hold of what's to come. I don't know if you noticed, but it's written in his old-timey writing.
Yeah, I mean, does he have new-timey writing?
I don't know. It just looks like old-timey, like
it does.
Like he wrote it with a fountain pen, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a time traveler mama mail.
Yeah.
We do see Alice and Noah go on a date. They're at the Point because apparently there is no other restaurant in town. And Alice is like, I'm glad we're not playing games. If you like someone, you should just tell them. And there's like a weird mosquito bite moment, which maybe is trying to like parallel Del and Colton.
Definitely parallel.
Pressure point.
Yeah, because I think it goes back to the story of like, it's not the big sweeping moments, it's the small moments here. And
yeah,
so
with the mosquito bite is like how he's showing you his love.
I guess, but I'd be like, why are you touching my mosquito bite? That doesn't make any that doesn't do anything, dude. Unless you're scratching it.
I know. I was like, put an X in it with your fingernail. While they are there, in walks Max Goodwin, who is evidently Louis Goodwin's son. And Alice is like, hey, how's Casey? And Max is like, who the hell's Casey? And Alice is like, your dad's kid. That's what they told us. They were here last summer, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, I have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. So dun, dun, dun. Who's Casey?
I love it. I love it so much. And I love that Max Goodwin is another teenager. So Alice has some people of her own age here. But yeah, like he has no idea who Casey is. And this is feeding into Alice's theory of like Casey's from the future, right?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So very exciting. Very, very exciting.
And let's run through some questions, unless you have any
Wait.
more plot points.
We have one more at the end where
Oh, tell me.
Jake in the hallway sees Ghost Cyrus. That was the big
Yeah.
jump scare at the end.
It was a big jump scare at the end. He like turns back into his room, right? And Cyrus is in
Yeah.
his bedroom.
He had just like put the note under the door for Dell and like turns around and he sees Cyrus in the hallway of the Landry house and he like closes his eyes and he basically like, like this, he
Wills
doesn't
him to
say
go
this.
away.
Yeah. He's like, this is not real. You know what I mean? He opens his eyes and he's gone and it's the end of the episode. So I'm like, oh, the torture that Jacob is under right now. Right?
Yes. And that final Cyrus moment was the scariest Cyrus moment. I was like, whoa, I was not expecting it.
Yeah, I love it. I love all this weird, like, I know a lot of people were like, I don't want to revisit any of the 1800 stuff. But like, it's all a part that it matters. It's all a part of the fabric of the story. Like, it's not going to just be like done. We still deal with 99 stuff too. So this show is better every week to me. All right, go through your list of questions.
Who pushed Alice in? Who's the baby in the basket? Who left the baby in the basket? When and where do Alice and Colton sing together? How much did Colton know about the pond? What was he warning Jacob about? What's the story behind Colton never making an actual record? Who's writing the letters to Dell? And what lie are they referring to? What's the significance of the clock in Elliot's wall? How did the painting get to Lingamore? Side note, were you kind of hoping we might see the My Catherine painting in 1974?
Yeah, I thought we might.
Will we see Susanna and Thomas again? Let's talk about the rings.
Ugh.
Tell me more about Fern. Who is Casey / when is Casey? I would like to add, what does Evelyn know about the pond here? Because we know she knows something, but what? What? I know what you know. What does she know?
Yeah, good question.
Do you have more questions to add to our list?
I think my biggest one is like, what's the purpose of Alice going to 74? Other than saving Colton from a car crash with Rick. But now we're done with that. So why does she continue to go back?
Yeah, there has to be some sort of bigger purpose in the whole Landry history.
It's got to be that baby.
It's got to be the baby. All right. Thank you for listening to this episode of Girls Gone Hallmark, a Bramble Jam podcast. We love receiving your feedback, your theories, your questions, your comments. Keep them coming. You can email us girlsgonehallmark@gmail.com. And we'll be back next week with more The Way Home. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right, friends, before we go, just a quick heads up. You're about to hear some ads. These little gems help us keep the show running and the Hallmark love flowing. So do with that info what you will. Grab a snack, hit the skip button, or maybe, just maybe, listen in and discover your new favorite product. Bye.